It's the SKOR North Twins Show. Baseball!
All right, SKOR North Twins Show here. Declan Goff hanging out with you guys on a Sunday morning before the Twins wrap things up with their series with the Tigers. Figured I'd jump on here for an extra innings episode. There's been a ton of roster updates and transactions and moving and shaking between the minors and the majors. So figured I'd update that for you guys here before we do a State of the Twins on Monday. So if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone who has supported the show, especially in the month of August since the trade deadline, since the Pohlads' decision to keep the Twins. We've had a surplus of subscribers and views, so thank you. We're not going anywhere. We're still pumping out plenty of content, so if you've been looking for Minnesota Twins content, this is the place for you. My name's Declan Goff, and I cover the team in a podcast position. So we can start with a bunch of different things here. I think for right now, let's start with Alan Roden. So Alan Roden's going on the injured list. Roden was acquired in the Louis Varland trade. He was immediately added to the Twins roster. Roden hurt his thumb. He has a thumb injury, has a ligament situation in there. He's going to go on the 60-day IL. He was placed on there on Sunday morning. Kind of a big bummer, to be honest. I know he hasn't hit well, but it probably wipes out the rest of his season. Rocco said he's going to see a hand specialist. So maybe he comes back, but kind of a bummer because Roden had a runway here to prove that he belongs in the big leagues. And so far, if you include even his stint in Toronto, Roden has played in 55 games this season between Minnesota and the Blue Jays. He's hit just 191, 2 home runs. He has excellent minor league numbers. He's a younger, athletic, fast player in the minor leagues. He's dominated the minor leagues. And now that might have been the last time we saw him in 2025. And for Roden, potentially the last time he can make an impression before spring training next year, which I think was a huge opportunity for him. He's another left-handed corner outfielder. He's a more athletic outfielder and probably a better defensive player than both Trevor Larnach and Matt Wallner. It would have made potentially Larnach and or Wallner, probably more Larnach, expendable in the offseason because it's another lefty bat that can play an athletic outfield. Now, I think this puts that in a little bit of limbo. I wouldn't also write Roden off of making the opening day roster next year. However, this just is it's a bummer because I was looking forward to seeing him play. I gave him put him on a list for you guys as someone that I was excited to watch in 2025 for the rest of the way. And now I don't know if we're going to see him again. With that thumb injury, maybe he comes back in September. But Roden going on the injured list for now. James Outman is coming up to replace him. Now, Outman played yesterday. He was acquired in the 1-for-1 trade for Brock Stewart. Outman spent some time with the Dodgers. He finished third in Rookie of the Year voting in 2023. Speedy guy. A lot like Alan Roden, to be honest. A guy who can swipe some bases. He has some good pop. Has conquered minor leagues. But ever since he had the great year in 2023 when he was worth almost 3.5 WAR, he's hit just like 180 in the big leagues between the Dodgers, and he's just been in the minor leagues the entire time. So Outman now, I guess in a way, kind of replaces what Alan Roden was supposed to bring to this team. Both these guys are lefty bats. Outman can play some center field, and Roden to a degree, but also Outman a little bit more fast. So now he gets a shot here to be with the Twins for the rest of the way. Going to be interesting to see if he can figure out how to hit major league pitching regularly after having a nice year in 23, but not really being able to put the bat on the ball ever since. He does represent that kind of younger, faster player that the Twins were looking to have, after they made all these moves and lean into this athleticism. So Outman yesterday did go 0 for 3 with 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. But you'll likely see him in center field. You'll see him in left field. He's a good player. So, or as shown, he can be a good player. But I'm he replaces Roden essentially of like, can he be someone that fits into the Twins' future plans beyond 2025? I am seeing a couple questions here on the YouTube side. Feel free to drop them in while I'm live here. Drop them in on demand afterwards after I hit the stop button. Love getting all your guys' questions and feedback. A few things. I see a timeline for a Pablo return. I'll get to that here in just a sec. Morgan also saying, with the string of recent losses, have you heard who may be coming up from St. Paul, especially with September call up soon? Yeah, they got some interesting pieces here. They've been rocking TBA on a lot of these starting pitchers. They're doing the bullpen games. Pearson Ole got beat up pretty good this weekend. They're going to eventually have to stop doing that. I know they are out of options. Now, Simeon Woods-Richardson, he made a rehab start for the Saints yesterday. He's going to make another one. He had that nasty stomach flu. So, he lost weight. He lost strength. So it wasn't just a quick little rehab assignment and he's back. He'll make another start with the Saints next week before joining the Twins rotation. And then, I guess we can transition right into Pablo Lopez, who is nearing his return. He's thrown some simulated games at Target Field. He's been building back up. He's hitting 94, 95 miles an hour in these simulated games. I think the signs would point to a probably rehab start or two before he joins the Twins, maybe in September. Whether that's with the Saints, they could send him maybe to Florida. It kind of all depends. Maybe he just sticks with St. Paul and makes a start with the Saints. But Pablo does want to come back to the Twins. He knows that even though this is a little bit of tracking towards obviously a lost season for the team, he still is eager to return to the mound and show that he can still pitch personally. And the Twins rotation certainly could use him. So Pablo Lopez obviously nearing his return, which is big for the Twins. I know some people would just like him to get shut down. And look, if there's a setback in his rehab, I bet he does get shut down. But so far, all signs point to him coming back from that teres injury. It was the same one Joe Ryan had last year that wiped out his season. But Pablo may be on track to make some starts here for the Twins. Pablo's one of two guys that is locked up for next year. That's not arbitration. That's making money from his contract extension, making $23 million, $22 million. I don't think he would opt out. I see this from Kyler, who says Pablo requested out, yet, or is he waiting till after the season? I don't think he'd opt out or request out. That has been something that I know, like Griffin Jacks did that at the trade deadline. Pablo's the ace of this team. He's making good money. He did have the comments about ownership. I saw that, he was a little surprised, like what happened there. I think he could be traded, though, because he's making so much money. And if the Twins are going in a cheaper direction, easiest thing to do is to trade your ace that's making $22 million. He's a frontline pitcher on every single team in baseball. If they do extend Joe Ryan this offseason, and unless the poll ads are sticking to their plan, we want to change the perception because we're motivated by your anger. I find it hard to believe that they would have Pablo and Joe with contract extensions, both making north of $20 million. Now, maybe that's what they're talking about. They want to change that perception that they don't trade guys that are expensive or they want to be cheap. But Pablo and Joe both under contract extensions, and Pablo is under contract for 2 more seasons after this one. Yeah, I don't know if that's likely. So does Pablo go on the trade block, and then you give the contract extension basically the same slotted money to Joe Ryan? That's something that they could do. Ryan's not close to free agency, but I think it'd be good to pay your players. And Joe's taking a big step forward. He's probably gonna get Cy Young votes this year. He's easily one of the 10 best pitchers in the American League, if not in all of baseball. So, I like Pablo requesting out. I don't think so, but could the Twins trade him? Maybe. I could see that happening. Pop 130 says, how is the mood in the clubhouse since the letter from the poll ads? I didn't get the sense that they really care about this type of stuff as much as maybe we do. They are very athletes, and managers even are very routine and almost robotic in their preparation and procedures every day. Is there some that probably have some opinions on it? Yeah, I think they do. I don't think it's really affected things in there. It feels like they've found a little camaraderie and community post-trade deadline. It just feels like a little different there, obviously because of the turnover, but I think they have moved past that. I think the clubhouse is mostly fine since that's happened, but we'll see. We'll obviously see. Couple other things. I do have a note on Connor Prelip, a Twins pitching prospect that got called up to the Saints, but I'll keep taking some of the questions here on the YouTube side. Go ahead and drop them in if you'd like. This from Caden, who says, "Hey, I've got a question. Why has Royce been an eternal slump ever since he said, 'I don't do slumps'? So frustrating." Royce, definitely slumping right now. He did have a good run there for the majority of this summer where he was hitting the ball well, not striking out a lot. But lately, Royce struggling a little bit. He's 2 for his last 19. He has just 8 hits in his last 50 at-bats. He's going through a slump right now. The thing is can he break out of that sooner instead of just being in a tailspin for the rest of the season? This has definitely been, obviously, his most disappointing year. I know Caden's asking about, I don't do slumps thing, and that's unfortunately just kind of carried over with him for over a year now. But this has been a pretty frustrating season for him. The stops and starts with injuries. Hopefully Royce is going to dig himself out of this. And I mean, they need him to be. They need him to be Royce Lewis, and hopefully he's tracking back in a situation where maybe he is closer to being the Royce Lewis that we know. But yeah, right now definitely struggling a little bit at the plate. Hopefully he can dig out of that. So Connor Prelip was recalled to the Saints. So I believe at one point Prelip was one of the Twins' top pitching prospects. He's now number 9, I think, in the organization. He's a lefty. They've been really careful with him. I think they don't let him throw deep into games. He has battled injuries before. This season at Wichita has made 19 starts, ERA of 3.65. It's funny because he doesn't go deep in the games. He doesn't really affect into the wins column. So he's lost. He hasn't won a start this year. Again, pitching wins, very overrated. But 61 innings, struck out 73 batters. He's got some good string and miss stuff. He has gotten hit a little bit. Does this guy factor in maybe as a reliever? You could make that case. But he's now with the Saints, which is super interesting. Hopefully Prelip can show he can obviously hang. He's just from Toma, Wisconsin. And for the Twins, I believe he was second round pick out of 2022 by the Twins. So he was one of the top 50 players taken in his draft. So Prelip now in St. Paul. Abel yesterday had a great start. I watched him in St. Paul a week ago on Sunday. Yesterday, bounced back with a really impressive outing. 11 strikeouts, just I believe only 1 or 2 hits. He looked great, man. He set a franchise record actually with those 11 strikeouts, going 6 innings, allowing 2 hits, 2 runs, no walks, which was huge for him, and 11 strikeouts. So he faced 20 batters, struck out over 50% of them. And for Abel and obviously watching this in person, last week confirms it. He can get himself into some deep counts. He can walk guys. He has control issues, but if he's not walking anyone and he has his secondary pitches locked in for strikes, or at least getting swing and miss, he's going to be nasty. And I don't envision him being in St. Paul too much longer. Again, I know that they've been doing this TBA thing, so I would expect Abel to probably be up here in September. If not, maybe sooner. Maybe he does make a start before the month of August ends. The Twins on the road, they're off tomorrow, but remaining at home and then going on the road for a week plus after that. So, I hope that he is in a better position where he's making starts for the Twins and showing he can belong. They got him in the Duran trade. Philly was able to part with him. He throws 96, 97. And then Taj Bradley, who the Saints are starting tonight. They're in Omaha right now. So Taj, who was required in the Griffin Jacks 1-for-1 trade, Bradley will make his start. He's had a mix, but he had a good first start. Kind of a mixed bag in his second start. So hopefully Taj Bradley shows that he's kind of developing his secondary stuff. Both these guys are going to be with the Twins rotation in September. I think they factor in very early as to being on the opening day starting rotation next year. That creates an interesting, not dilemma, but situation where, if everyone's healthy, it's Pablo and not traded. Pablo, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Taj, and Mick Abel. But then where do you put Simeons, Woods, Richardson? Do you still go find a veteran free agent starting pitcher? There's some options there. And maybe one of those guys starts in the minors. The Twins have learned, obviously, this year, especially lately with the TPAs and the bullpen games and the bulks and the openers, you need as much starting pitching as possible, man. So that's something that they're not going to take lightly, but they have some interesting depth still, because that was something going into the trade deadline. If they were going to be sellers, they didn't really have major league pitching prospects that were ready. Connor Prelip's just gotten to AAA. I believe Charlie Soto, his season is done, another pitching prospect in their pipeline. CJ Culpepper's battled injuries. They didn't have guys that were ready to take that step. Marco Raya, who's still really young, and has had a mixed results with the Saints this year in 2025. I think he's a better reliever. And then even guys like Festa and Zebby Matthews. So I gave a projected rotation there. Forgot about those two. You got to see as many options as you possibly can, and hopefully someone takes that next step forward. But you need as much depth as humanly possible. Maybe if it becomes a position of strength and a depth for you, then you start using those as trade assets. That's a whole thing too. But yeah, they have some interesting guys, and I think we'll see them here. See them here pretty soon. Let's see here. Is it K Booger 20 says, does Tonkin seem like the best option for closer right now? Tonkin, Cole Sands are probably the best options, I guess, for closing stuff. Again, that's where I would be interested to see someone like Marco Raya coming up and going into the bullpen. I still think Festa, when he comes back from the injured list and just long term, I think Festa's going to turn into a nasty reliever. He's really good the first time through the order. He's got the longer delivery there. I think he could be a really good reliever, and the Twins have done a good job at turning those starters into effective relievers. I don't know if it's like this year, but I think next year I wouldn't be surprised if David Festa starts in the bullpen. That could be something that they do. A few more comments here before I say goodbye. Hit the like button, subscribe button too on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. Who gets called up first, whether it's this year or next, Emmanuel Rodriguez or Gabriel Gonzalez? Emmanuel Rodriguez can't stay healthy. He's been high up on a lot of people's prospects boards. I think he came in the year top 50 prospect in baseball, but just can't stay healthy from what I've gathered in St. Paul's too, even though he has, a good eye and some good power and athleticism. That bat is not ready for major league pitching. That's a big jump. I think Gabby Gonzalez, who is just a more pure hitter, has less power, but someone that could actually get called up maybe this year. He's started an A ball. I would say between him and Culpepper, Kalen Culpepper, that is, I think Culpepper or Gonzalez are probably going to win minor league player of the year for the organization. Both of them have been incredible this year. And, Gabby was acquired in that Polanco trade, had a pretty ineffective year at the plate last year, and now has bounced back and found some good footing. He had a mammoth home run that I saw last week. I think it's Gonzalez first, but could certainly be Emmanuel Rodriguez too. So Twins wrapping up their homestand 4-game series. Chris Paddock on the mound actually for the Tigers. Wrapping up their home series with the Tigers today. They'll be off on Monday. Then the Twins hosting, I believe it's the Athletics for 3 games before the Twins hit the road for Chicago and Toronto. So that's the plan there. And by the way, for anyone listening, watching, we will be at the Minnesota State Fair. In fact, I think the first show we're doing on Thursday, if I have this right, is a SKOR North Twins Show in person. So if you're headed to the fair this week, go to skornorth.com/fair. You can see our recording schedule. I know typically we post a lot of these episodes in the late morning, early afternoon. If you're usually someone who listens to this podcast or watches this afterwards, You will probably see these. You will like probably see these later in the afternoon because we're recording like 12 to 4. So we will be at the State Fair, which will be an absolute blast. I never know if this is actually Royce. Royce, is this actually you? I haven't seen you around lately. Been a busy weekend, man. But not sure if that's the Royce Lewis or the Royce Lewis. But yeah, we'll be at the State Fair Thursday, Friday. We'll have twin shows. We'll have Purple Daily. So if you're going to the State Fair, come hang out with us. Would love to hang out with you, see you guys. We'll have benches and we'll have seating. You can see the sports dad, Mackie, myself. Trevor Plouffe won't be joining us from the fair, but we will have some guests and stuff too. So it'll be a lot of fun. So if you're heading out to the fair, come see us. We're right by the grandstand booth. You go to skornorth.com/fair. You can kind of see where our booth is. We're right next to the KSTP, our TV station booth. We're right there. Plus the Mexican hat, I believe, we're right next to as well. Come find us. Come say hello. Bring us a Pronto Pup. Bring us an adult beverage. Bring us whatever. Come hang out. We have some merch too, which is really exciting as well. So that's gonna do it for me here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hit the like button, subscribe button. We'll have a State of the Twins tomorrow too with Mackie, Judd, and myself. Talk to you guys then.